Hello and welcome to another episode of the Thom and Joe show. We're back with numbered episodes.
Yeah, apparently you've forgotten, we pretty much forgotten that we have numbered episodes because it was all anniversaries last year.
And
all anniversaries.
Yeah, and the whole Evangelion thing, which, I'm slowly editing together. Yeah, we haven't done a numbered episode in, apparently since March of last year.
We almost went a whole year without a numbered episode proper.
Yes, so we'll, at the end of this episode, we will be reminding you of what is next because it's been a while. We are talking today about the anime series, the first series of my next life as a villainess. All roads lead to doom. Yes, we are finally entering the world of isekai anime.
Yes.
Yes.
Fortunate or unfortunate as it may be, because it didn't used to be a bad thing.
Yep.
And then Sword Art Online came along.
And then every other anime became I think we need to sort of before we start talking about my life in a villainess, I think we need to gently sort of go about, okay, what's isekai? So isekai is a genre of, well, actually, frankly, it has been, a trend in literature and a trend in Japanese literature and a trend in generally anime, etc. for years. Basically, to put it in perspective, isekai is basically your characters go to another world and your characters have adventures in another world and then sometimes return home. We'll obviously talk about the current trend of isekai in a little bit, but basically Alice in Wonderland is an isekai.
Yeah. And it didn't used to be what it is now. No. I mean, it would show up from time to time. My best memory of it would be the 12 Kingdoms. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Fushigi, that sort of thing,
Yeah, and
yeah.
Yep. Oh god, why is my name slacking on the biggest one at all? But
Escaflowne,
Escaflowne is one, but
Inuyasha, that sort of thing. There's
Inuyasha is the one that was most on my mind because my son loves the shit out of it. But it wasn't. There's a hard line between this, and it has to do with NEETs, which is the people, the shut-ins in Japan who don't want to get a job, don't want to face society for various reasons, and
aka hikikomori, basically
hikikomoris,
which is
so there was a big line between the early to mid 2000s before they became a large part of the society of Japan, or at least anime society in Japan. Yeah. And before that, isekai was kind of we're going into the books of my novels, and it wasn't always I don't want to say fan service, but it wasn't always at the service of hikikomoris. And sometimes it would turn itself on, 12 Kingdoms. The first arc after they get into is the main character is not the person who is the bookworm. The main character is the normal teenage girl who gets taken to another world, and her best friend, the bookworm, becomes one of the villains for a while because she gets manipulated to thinking she's the special person.
Yeah, that's the sort of the big trend with that I think is the delineation between basically classic isekai, which is sort of 2000s to, I would say, 2004 onwards, sort of basically is new isekai, or the sort of isekai that we're going to obviously come on to talk about. But it's sort of the delineation of that seems to basically be our protagonist's sort of social backgrounds and another trope, which we'll talk about it now. Yeah, isekai starts to become a refuge for, I'm not very popular in this world, I'm now gonna like die and be reincarnated in this world, and suddenly women cannot resist me, I am a strategic genius, I have brought, my knowledge of, society and the modern world to this new world, and therefore I am basically God.
Yeah, and it follows RPG rules, so they understand how everything works immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this sort of kickstarts with the series Familiar of Zero, which is based on a web novel, and a lot of people look to Familiar Zero when I can do that. And therefore we got things like ReZero, which is okay, and things like Sword Art Online, which are not good.
Well, Sword Art Online, the one that's written by the guy who did Kino's Journey, that one is good.
Yeah.
Shockingly good.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But
the original.
It is a sub-story, not based on it, and we have to give credit. The writer of Sword Art Online did go back and realize, oh, I'm kind of a shit.
Yeah.
Or this is kind of shit, and realize what he did wrong. He's been trying to improve it, but I still have no interest in it beyond maybe the Yuki Kajiura score.
Yeah.
But
it's also not. It's dated bad. It's considering it's now. What is it? Sword Art Online is a 2002 novel, and the anime was 2012, which would put it basically as just over 12 years old. It has dated so badly. So badly.
It is very Shinzo Abe era anime. Which,
are you having kids yet?
I don't want to call it the Dark Age. I mean, there were good things, but it's just it's the kind of these hikikomoris were starting to integrate back in, and then they said no, society has to work for them, and they have to provide for them, and then we have to bump up the birth rate or something. So
it's your government approved wife.
There was this thing put into their heads that it was like they'll be provided what they need without having to do anything, which was not what happened, but they could still write anime about how that's what should happen.
Yeah. And then we get the sort of the further rarefication upon this, as sort of, I think best typified by Musho Tensei and the Saga of Tanya the Evil, which is basically, I am dead and now I am, as I said, I have my knowledge of, the future military things, and there's some good series that do that. I mean, my the slime. I forgot. What's it called?
And it also doesn't help there are multiple knockoffs that I became a slime too, so
that time I got reincarnated as slime, which I think is one of the best examples of it done well. But then again, it started to become like it reached oversaturation 7 or 8 years ago, and
and people are still trying to hit the line.
Yeah.
It's what harem anime was at the late 90s after Tenchi and after Love Hina, where I am just so tired of this, and it's just like
it reached. So it got to a point, the general isekai genre, that Kadokawa banned isekai stories from any contests in 2007, and another it just got to a point where I think around about the sort of winter summer 2017 to 2018, where it was just every other series was an isekai. And it's and they're all and they're all sort of interchangeable, and they're all sort of wacky fantasy adventures, and it got to the ridiculous stuff I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level, or people being reincarnated as a sword or a vending machine. It became so overdone of people trying to find some into doing the genre, where some USP, and it's goes to your protagonist is a spider. Okay. and of course, obviously, you know, we got into the other sort of trope of this genre, which is obviously our good friend Truck-kun. It's like, you know, being a Japanese
and the vending machine one.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of played out to the point where it's gone ridiculous, and it's switched back to kind of being fun, and then everybody ran to that door.
Yeah, very far. Yeah,
like I don't want to say all of them are bad. There are some I like Konosuba is good, but it's mostly the comedies that acknowledge to a certain extent that the main character made mistakes in their original lives, and it's not necessarily something that deserves to be a credit to them, and that it's something they are trying to improve or something.
Yeah, the best examples of it, and Konosuba is definitely one of them, becomes where it is, you know, it either plays itself completely straight, which I think Slime is a very, very good example of, or something like Konosuba where it is leaning so heavily on the fourth wall, and you know and you know a sort of knowing sort of, you know, a knowing sort of thing of, you know, isekai tropes, that it does actually almost wrap back round and actually becomes genuinely quite fun.
And so we've talked long enough about this. We should probably get to our topic.
Yeah, and we kind of get to an example which straddles that quite nicely, which is My Next Life as a Villainess or Road to Doom. This is based upon a light novel series written by Satoru Yamaguchi, illustrated by Nami Hideki, which began publication in 2014 and ran till 2015. So, you know, considering this is like less than a year worth of material, it's really, really good. This is another one I've got to confess, Joe, where I just took a punt on something and went, that looks fun. I've been wanting to watch this for a while, and I'm not disappointed with where we came with this.
Yeah, my wife really likes this series. She needs to watch the second series, so I had to like stop when it rolled over, because it's otherwise I was rewriting her like watch history.
Yeah, that's not too.
But I mean, like we said, this is going to be the first season, not the second season that recently came out.
No, this is season one only. We've not got to the ability of doing. As I said, if you want us to talk about season 2 of stuff, we will talk about season 2 of stuff, but we need comments, and we need people to go, I really like this, we want to talk about season 2, because apparently you told me season 2 like massively ups the visual quality and everything in season 2 is like, and now we gave it money.
Yeah, this was a success, we can give it money now. Like, it's the first shot, it's like this one, the style is fine, but it is like kind of that general anime flat where, you know, everybody's doing efforts, but they don't have the extra money to put extra flair on the surroundings. Or, you know, just the animation is fine. It is like just the definition of fine. Everything does well, everything. Yeah, but then you go to, then it flips over to the second season, and it's just like the wallpaper is super detailed, and then the main character's hair is just like wrapped. She's in bed, and it's like all of it was taken with extra care to shading and just giving all the extra detail. It's like, this is they put extra effort. So it's the reverse Victorian romance Emma, where they blew all of their money on the first 12 episodes that it was scheduled for 24. So they had to go to a Korean animation company, which it still looks okay, but you can immediately tell if you binge watch it, like, oh, this is a drop.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This is like the inverse thing that tends to happen, is either, you know, series will get, you know, a decent budget for season 1, and it's like, oh well, we've done season 1, we basically got everybody who's going to watch this anyway, take 15% off the budget and like re-render stuff like a little bit cheaper. This is like the opposite. This obviously clearly got a fan base from the anime, and obviously that was reflected in the season 2, which we're obviously not going to talk about today. But anyway, this is animated by Silverlink, who seem to basically I think the best way of describing Silverlink's filmography is lots and lots of light novel adaptations and game adaptations, I think.
And they also adapted the disappearance of Nagato Yuki-chan, which is one of my most infamous things. That is, I only have the burning hatred for it. Everybody else is like, they read the first volume and this is boring, and then puts it down. And that's a whole other rant. But Silverlink did fine, except for I mean, I hate the show. Obviously, I hate the show, but I can kind of see their effort with it.
Yeah.
The only thing is, like, they had all female character designs. So when it came to designing the main guy, he was still, like, his eyes are off because they're...
Yeah.
everybody else was a female character design, and then there's just him. Yeah. And they kind of kept the same template, I want to say. But his face features are off, and it's odd. I mean, but they do okay. They do okay, but they do a lot of adaptations, and it's
some of their stuff is
I would call them a mid-level studio. They don't do a bad job, but it's they are not going to knock anybody out.
Yeah, they've got some fairly good stuff. I mean, they did both seasons of Bakuto Test, which is one of my favorite animes from back when I was a student. And they did like a couple of the the sort of lesser Fate series, and they've done some good stuff. They also did Chaos Dragon, which is not good. They really.
I had to I had to review that at one point,
and Girlfriend Beta
then I had to do another podcast on it, so I had to watch it twice.
Yeah, and Girlfriend Beta.
I know very.
Do you remember Girlfriend Beta, Joe? Yes, we're back from our reviewing days. Oh God, my Vietnam flashbacks have started again. Yeah, they're a mid-tier studio. They churn out a lot of stuff like this. Nothing they produce is execrably bad, but they basically do a lot of mid-tier light novel adaptations, and they're very good at it. So what is our premise? Our premise is well, it sort of basically this is yes, it's a parody, it's a pastiche, yes, it's a homage to isekai series. It's also a pastiche of otome video games, which are basically dating sims for girls and, well, people who like playing video games with pretty boys in it. And our protagonist is Catarina Claes, who finds herself reincarnated after being hit by a car this time, as the villainess of the game Fortune Lover. She must avoid the death flags and all the bad sort of things that could happen.
The doom flags,
hence the title, of being in this video game, and must sort of try and survive and not get expelled from school, or have horrible things happen to her, whilst being surrounded by very pretty people, all of whom are major characters in the game, and should have various relations with her, which Catarina is trying to sort of subvert and basically manipulate into, I survive and don't basically die or get executed. And for that premise, what we get is a rather good series.
It certainly inverts expectations. Because you think she is going to be a villainess, and that is absolutely not what happens in this series. Like it kind of takes a little bit because you have to figure out, okay, what's your game series? Because it's going through the introductions, it's going through, all right, here are all these characters, here's what's happening, and then it kind of, after about 3 episodes, it flips the switch and, oh, okay, here's what we're doing.
Yeah. So those first 3 series, so we basically are introduced to our main cast as kids. You know, this is obviously like, you know, the setup of the game. You know, this is where you meet all your main characters. And it's done really quite sweetly. So Catarina is voiced in Japanese throughout by Maya Uyuchi, who is Uchida, who's otherwise famous for, let me double check. I'm sure I can spot something. Quite a number of like minor. I think this is her most famous role. I think as of she's great. She's a very. I think obviously if you don't nail this protagonist down, it is very much. You know, you've got to make this protagonist likable, and she's gloriously an idiot. She's like, so we're introduced to her as a child where she suddenly wakes up from mysterious dreams and goes basically at the point where she sort of remembers, yes, I was an otaku who died in a traffic accident after playing a video game into the small hours. And she basically the only thing I would say against these first 3 episodes, as you said, there is a lot of setup. There is basically this is 3 episodes worth of here are all these characters, and they're very important, going to be very important for our plot. So, and she sort of immediately basically creates a game plan, because obviously she knows this game inside out, of trying to avoid all of the various doom flags, all the sort of basically parts of the quote-unquote route of playing as this villainess that will lead to dark and horrible things happening. So it basically, and she gets her memory back because she bonks her head, and so all of her memories from her previous life filter into her modern, and so she immediately becomes a different person, which is, strange to all these people. And she has this council in her head of people who are, how are we going to avoid this? And she has these weird out there plans of figuring out what happens if she does get exiled or something. She begins farming. I should say she is of nobility. A duke's daughter, I believe, or is that? I think you're correct. I think she is a noble, and we obviously, her parents are like minor-ish characters. I think she's just like, her. Her mother has no patience for her. Nope. Because suddenly she was a different person, and she acts nothing like a noble person. Yeah.
And also, she has that trait where she eats way too many sweets.
Yep. Because it's one of the... as I said, there's a lot of stuff in her character which does, if it wasn't presented with this sort of charm, I think would be very, very generic. And there is I think the quality of it is the presentation, I think, is a lot of it. Which we'll get into a little bit later, but yeah, it's sort of like there is the way this series is presented, I think, is what sets it apart from the rest of the field, so to speak.
Okay, could you go into that more? I just want to hear your point of view on this, because most of my stuff it's fine, but I don't know how much this stands out, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly a series that I have been recommended by other people as, not a typical isekai series, and I think a lot of it is down to it just actually, as I said, I feel it basically its sincerity is a lot better than a lot of it other isekai do. I mean, one isekai is a very masculine dominated genre, as we've discussed for about the last 10 minutes. The earlier in the episode, that obviously this is male wish fulfillment. Yes, absolutely. My life as a villainess is female wish fulfillment, but it sort of has a particular twist on it, which I think we'll get into in a little bit, that I really do feel sort of sets it apart from the rest of the field, and that is basically because it's like, hey, it's a LGBT harem series.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
and on my end, what kind of makes it stand out is the empathy, because it doesn't write these other characters for the main character. They are themselves, and it's the main character finding the good points in all of these people, and that is why it appeals.
That I would agree with, definitely.
Yeah. That is what makes it different from usual wish fulfillment. That, and also the main character is kind of a dunce, so she can't really get in romantic relationships with these people, or they can't have this moment where I want to specifically date this person, and then what about everybody else? So there's that quality, which is good or isn't. To tell you the trick right off, essentially the villainess becomes the main character of the otome. She switches it around because she is so nice to all of these other characters who, they have the usual tragic otome backstory where they've just been shit on all their lives. But since Catarina came into their lives early and, showed that they were somebody, she is an invaluable person to all of them, and they will all stay with her to the death. And that goes to include Maria, the person she is supposed to watch out for, and the person she is supposed to be the rival of, the
protagonist of the game. So I think this is where these first 3 episodes really do a lot of the it's sort of a weird heavy lifting you don't realize has taken place until deep into the series, and it goes, wait a minute, this is literally because of these first 3 episodes. So essentially she introduces herself, or sort of bumps into a lot of the supporting cast, and a lot of the basic, we are obviously introduced to it through Catarina's eyes. These are Catarina's eyes. Obviously, this is what this character should be like in the game. They're really distant, and they're a little bit of a playboy, and it's like, no, I'm going to be nice to you. Oh, no one's ever been nice to me before. I'm going to be nice now, and not a misogynistic playboy who plays with women's hearts. That's good. Oh, okay, I'm going to follow you around now, Catarina. Brilliant. Here is another character that we will do this. So we're introduced to Giordo, who is voiced in the... Obviously, most of these are... So Giordo is voiced by Shoto Aoi, who is a Japanese singer. The problem thing is with this cast is it's not really a cast dominated by anybody I've majorly heard of. So Giordo is essentially her betrothed. He is, again, he's meant to be basically playing with her affections throughout the game. No, he's really sweet, and they do, and then obviously we meet her younger brother Keith, adopted younger brother Keith is voiced by Tetsuya Kakahari, and we're introduced, to, and again it goes here, look, this is, she's introduced to this girl, and this girl, she basically gives this girl, obviously, a line from the game that her fiance, bloody hell, fiance says, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna pay real attention to you, and it's really sweetly done, and it's sort of it would be very, very easy to make this half the series, and it's like, I think there's also an admirable sense to the relative speed of this series. Sort of basically goes, here is these first 3 episodes, you're going to introduce to all the cast, right now we're going to end episode 3, right now we're going to the main plot of the series. So there is an efficiency to it. I mean, this is again, this is only a 12 episode series. The novel series is now 15 books, and I think this adapts like the first two and a bit novels. It's not like, you know, there is a lot more of this series that could be animated. I think there was a film in 2020, just at the back end of last year, which is obviously, you know, fine. Good, you know, this sort of this seems to be, you know, a standard practice with a series whenever it gets big enough is that you just end up with a film at the end. So fine, yeah. The only thing I will say against this majorly as a series, so we basically are, you know, introduced to the Magic Academy, and we basically kind of go back to the sort of same thing of for the next episode or two, which is basically now Catarina meets everyone at the school, and, you know, Catarina basically goes, I am meeting the other female characters, including Maria Campbell, who is voiced by, he says, Soyori Hayami, you know, who is, you know, probably the other really famous voice actress from this. You know, very, you know, very, very sweet, you know, the sort of, as I said, your typical otome heroine, you know, very reserved, very sweet, you know, bullied by everybody, including, you know, in the original game, Catarina herself. She obviously now steps into that and goes, actually, no, leave her alone, you know, I'm going to bring her some sweets, and, you know, she's obviously from a disadvantaged background, you know, it's all very sweet, and, you know, and it's like, you know, Catarina's sort of going, you know, or Catarina should be going, I am saying a lot of lines from, you know, the characters who are romancing each other to these characters. I'm sure there is no, you know, nothing that is going to backfire here, and no, just completely ignores it, completely, you know, completely unaware, no thoughts in her head.
Yeah, and I will say that's one of my major detractions is all the characters have to play way too dumb or play kind of way...
yeah.
One note sometimes isn't a problem, it just depends on what you do with it, because my favorite anime comedy is Full Metal Panic Fumafu, and that is a lot of one-note jokes, but they are handled through Looney Tune cartoons, and they have, like, a certain humanity attached to them, and, like, they sometimes get split up into 15-minute episodes, so it knows to be its brevity, and it knows what it is. So this as a full series, it does have humanity in it to it. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. It has a lot of rule following, and we have to do this to get to this. Yeah. And like, we have to have the first 3 episodes of setup, and then we have to go to the academy, and we have to have, like, all of these required scenes from the visual novel to throw in, and there is that feeling that sometimes the characters are just playing their parts and they aren't acting like humans, and that's kind of my favorite, was when these things kind of get a little self-awareness. I don't want to say meta, but when they, you know, realize they are people and then move beyond it. And it's kind of why the Kyoto Animation version of The Disappearance of Rurouni Suzumiya is really good to some people. Some people still see, like, I don't want to take anything against the light novels, but I have read the light novels of The Disappearance of Rurouni Suzumiya, and you don't feel as much, because Kyoto Animation loved these characters and, like, brought them to life in a way I don't think anybody else was. And so Silverlink here, they do, but it still feels like they are just playing their part to the end, and there are only select points where the show chooses to, like, address how they really feel as people, and, you know, why they are like this, or at least let them think about why they are like this. Yeah,
I do feel that is the, I will agree, that is the downside of this as a series. It is linked into, it is, you know, matched to the the structure of an otome game, and I feel like occasionally it's like you want the series to do more with it, or to rail against that structure it's given itself. And it would be, there are other series which are basically political isekai series, like for example Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter and I'm in Love with the Villainess, which sort of do more with this structure, particularly Accomplishment of the Duke's Daughter, which goes into like full on geopolitical stuff with a similar-ish setting, where she is the villainess of an otome game and goes, right, fine, I'm being kicked out of the basically the plot of the video game. That's fine. Hello, would you like to have a look at sort of 17th, 18th century basically military and industrialization? Because this is
yeah, at this point there's so much, and you have to ask the question, what do you bring to the table? And what this one brings is a sense of empathy and niceness. Because it is okay, just because you are the villain doesn't mean you have to be that way. I mean, there's some tools she keeps in the, like, she'll keep the look to terrify bullies and stuff. But she is nice and respectful to other people. There are the Ascarts, Sophia, who has white hair and red eyes and is just seen as a demon and ignored. And then Catarina comes along. No, you're beautiful. You're pretty. Your hair's like silk. Yeah. And then, and Nicole kind of comes along, and just kind of like, oh hey, you are liked as well. You're not just because his whole one thing is he is a quiet person, but he is very handsome, and so he'll immediately turn on his handsomeness, and all the girls will squee. But Catarina kind of sees him as a person. So, and also he loves what Catarina has helped his sister do, and they also bond because Sophia's a massive bookworm, and Catarina's like, I am so bored, I need to read things, because in life she was a bookworm, and she has like the brown hair with constant cowlicks, and and her previous life will play more of a role here later, which is another one of its tricks. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have is with that middle chunk of the series, where it sort of goes, and now I have to do otome stuff, because this is basically which I would say is really episode 4 to about 6. It's fine. It's basically, here is our protagonist sort of our characters sort of bouncing off each other, and cute things happening, and the thing is, occasionally it also does. Catarina does feel, obviously she has turned over a new leaf, and obviously is now the heroine. She does occasionally feel a little bit fangless. I feel it's like there should be a little bit more edge to her character, and basically the fact that she is extremely, or should be extremely, self-aware that she is she feels like she should be using her self-awareness more in this series, which I think obviously does go into the second series more, but obviously that is a discussion for another time. And then it sort of clicks back into where I feel it should be going, which is like, basically starting to dig into the other world that Catarina, came from, and, more typical fantasy magical stuff. Which I feel is where the series has a little bit more of its strength, I feel.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I am fine with the series. It is a 7 out of 10. It is just limited by needing to stay with its structure, and that's happens with a lot of popular things that gets to a larger audience, is that they do have to keep this structure, or they do have to keep everything recognizable, because if you get too into the weeds, like, you're gonna lose some people.
Oh, completely.
So, but like, it's niceness is kind of its only asset. Like it, I don't know what else it adds, like any sort of expertise or, you know, it makes a one-of-a-kind character. Like, you know, Catarina is good, but I think it kind of fits with a lot of other main characters where they're super nice, everybody likes them, but they're also kind of dumb as dirt, emotionally at least.
Yeah, there's a lot the Catarina, I feel, ironically, because I do like her as a protagonist. She is like a little bit like the series. I'd be interested to see what she plays like in the novel, where there is more of that internal narration as a character. You know, but she feels like she is being dumbed down to the point of she has no idea. You know, for somebody who is meant to be metatextually aware of her surroundings and has basically somehow Xanatos gambited herself into an entirely new route that doesn't really, you know, set off any of the doom flags, and, you know, who seems to be master manipulator of like everybody around her, to the point that like everybody, like every single character who is you know, a potential route in this game eventually falls for her or is, you know, besotted with her. She is dumb as two short planks. No, I don't know if I don't know if this is her acting deliberately dumb or whether it's... No, I don't think it is. I think it's like, you know, yeah, she's not particularly clever. And it's like, you know, there's...
Yeah, and she is unaware of what she is doing and how she's doing it. She's just kind of doing it to avoid her death, and she doesn't know, you know, what she did had an effect on the other characters until much later.
Yeah. There's a sense, like, I could understand where it would be, you know, in a slightly more nuanced take of it is she is so myopically fixed upon not dying that sort of it's like, oh, you know, but she's, you know, she eventually gets to the end of the series and looks around and goes, oh, okay, I've suddenly found myself with basically a murder harem of death who will literally die for me. Time to take over the world.
Yeah, I don't know where they go for this. I haven't gone. Like I said, I didn't want to mess up my wife's viewing, so...
Yeah. No, but it is, you know, you could understand somebody taking the structure of this or taking the idea of this and going... Okay, how can I really punch this up to, you know, some, you know, a more an older school style, you know, otome series, something like, you know, Fushiyuki going, okay, I've basically just romanced or, you know, enamored every single major character in this. I'm taking over the world now. You know, I don't know. It's sort of like
I don't know where. But it feels for something. I know light novels are not super long. I've read a few, but it still feels like if you get to 15, you need to go somewhere with this.
Yeah,
and you even felt that with the Haruhi Suzumiya light novels. What I read through a decent amount of them, where it feels like it has a lot of padding. And that one is one that has like story that goes places, except for Endless 8, but. They only do Endless 8 in the light novels like 3 times, I think. So it's not like...
Yeah.
So this, I feel, would have to find some new tricks, and I'll have to see the new series for it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the second series does in comparison, and whether it sort of basically its world building sort of steps outside of the school and, you know, starts to be more, you know, general sweeping fantasy. Like there's stuff in here that is very good, and I'll be interested to see, you know, how grand scale the light novels do get to, but as I said, a discussion for another day. And it's sort of basically at about this mark where the series starts going, oh yeah, I'm actually really good now. And it's like, yeah, this is like goes into really quite sweet and quite sad personal stuff between like some of the characters, you know. for about the back third of this, it's like the back third of this is genuinely, if the rest of the series was this good, it would be a high 8 or a mid 9 for me, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is like what actually having knowledge of the characters, you know, backstories and stuff would be like. You know, and we get, you know, so throughout most of the series, Catarina has, you know, basically is attended by Anne, who is basically her maid in waiting, and, you know, Anne's basically been a bit of a one-note character up until episode 9, and then it's like episode 9 is yeah, no, her backstory is absolutely tragic. She's genuinely, you know, she's been, you know, marred by, you know, fire, and basically Katarina's personality change saved her as a person. You know, that's really well done, and then we get into, you know, who Catarina actually is, which is a really, really well done. I think that is a really well done reveal, actually.
And why she's having like flashbacks to her previous life, and why what she needs to remember is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very well done. You know, that particular episode, I think, is probably the second best in the series, I think. And, you know, we basically get a delve into who she is, and, you know, why, you know, Sophia is so important to her as a character as well, because it turns out, yeah.
Spoilers.
Shall I proceed?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Spoilers. So Sophia is actually her friend from, you know, the original human. I want to say human world, and human world is completely wrong. From the real
from modern Earth,
from modern Japan, and, you know, it's really sweetly done. And yeah, there's so she ends up basically in unconscious, and basically the whole party together. Yeah, the series does a really good, like, last 3 episodes, and it's like, there's basically, you know, so we basically get to the flag which is meant to be the Doom flag, which is basically, she is confronted by her friends, you know, and she's obviously, you know, accused of bullying the protagonist Maria, and it's usually at this point where the game goes, haha, game over, this is your ending. Except the people who are accusing her have no memory of collating this huge document worth of accusations, and it starts to do, and it's something I wished almost had like 1 or 2 extra episodes, because it's like, this is the only place I really feel where it does rush itself a little bit. It's like, they've been manipulated by dark magic, and this is, you know, how I don't, and obviously Catarina's going, I don't know any dark magic users for in this game. Hang on a minute, there's the secret character, which is
yeah, the secret character is, I kind of figured out there was something up with it, because it's the Roger Ebert economy of characters rules, that if there is this character who's been hanging on the fringe that that hasn't been doing anything, or, you know, they're relatively nice but they don't factor into the plot, they're the villain. So that happens with Sirius Deke, Dieke, but yeah, that's his name, Sirius Deke.
Yeah,
God.
Voiced by Toshiki Masuda, which is, yeah, I did like, I was with a little bit with Sirius, it's like, you're not in the OP, but you seem quite important.
Oh, he is in the OP. He
OP?
Turns around, and then there's the picture of him, and then it turns into like 20 pictures of him.
That's not suspicious at all.
No, not suspicious at all, but he's not one of the people who bows with at the end when they're like, here are all the main characters. And one note on the OP is it was the song was done by Angela, who have just been this pop duo who have just been trucking along for decades. I mean, they were big during the anime boom of the 2000s. They did like Fafner and a bunch of other stuff. I wouldn't recommend like going into their discography because they are pop songs that pop stars. They're only as good as like their single songs that they put to things, and you listen to their albums and it's a lot of, okay, here are the B-sides that aren't as good. So, but they have some really good songs, and it's great that they've been able to keep doing this for over 2 decades.
Oh yeah. No, they've been around for yonks. It's one of these bands you sort of look at and you go, you have 50 singles, what is going on over here? Yeah, it's like, yeah, but yes, the OP's great. I do like the OP just randomly sampling Beethoven's Fifth, for some reason. So da 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 da, and it just carries on doing its thing. It's quite a charming little OP. ND is fine. The thing is with a lot of these otome series is like, unless you get something really unusual, interesting, it tends to be standard reasonable Japanese pop song at beginning, standard reasonable Japanese pop song at end. Done.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, like I know I don't normally skip endings. I kind of get tempted to, but on this one I have to like go through the end, which the song is called Bad End, but the version I was looking through, the Crunchyroll version didn't have any lyrics. Yeah. So I can't tell how much fun it's having with the concept or if it's based on, it's an isekai based on an otome series, so they're just having fun with, they just slap that on a song that is not about it at all. So, but anyway, there are post-credit sequences. So if you skip the end, you skip the post-credit sequences that sometimes happen, sometimes don't, and they lead into the next episode. So if you don't watch them, you're confused when it suddenly, I mean, it'll do the here's what happened last week, like little first 30 seconds, and then kick in, but it's still kind of confusing when it jumps in.
Yeah, I feel it's actually quite a smartly thing, because it's not a thing that a lot of animes do at this point. It's like, usually the post credits is like, here is the episode, is the next episode preview. It's like, nope, there's a scene over here. Don't skip all the way to the end. Yeah. So Sirius is basically, Sirius is technically our villain. He does, we get into why he's doing this fairly quickly, which I feel is sort of like the problem. It's like, I would have, if I, again, in the very hypothetical situation that I was directing the series, would have, hinted a little bit at his, plotting behind the scenes, once or twice. And it does sort of, it does feel like, I'm afraid to say, it does feel like occasionally it is coming it does just appear out of nowhere and goes, oh yeah, oh this guy, sorry, I forgot about this guy. He's a really good... it's a really good story, but it is kind of I wish they might have established him as the actual character that she falls in love with or something like that, or something a little bit more substantial, because it does come off like, say, original Persona 4 before they added Golden, where the killer and everything else that pops in at the ending just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you kind of just assume it just based on what people have been doing and what their importance has been, and not like, oh, they're actually giving clues. But this, it just comes because this character is here and it's been put some importance on, but we haven't gotten to that yet, which means, it does do that sort of thing of going, oh, I've survived the major doom flag, and then you sort of stand around and go, where's the rest of the, oh god, there's the rest of the series. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's the dude, oh dear, okay. Sirius is a great character. I wish there was more of him. He feels like a very, the antithesis of, all this really cutesy, very, he's like, oh, are we going, gonna have a go on a fun little adventure, all of us? Yes, all of us. I've misinterpreted what you mean by a date. We're all gonna sort of, wander over here, and it's like, poor Gordo is just like, I didn't mean basically in his head it's like, I didn't mean everybody, but you're all here, fine, okay, I guess you're all the world's most oblivious woman.
Yeah, and he's just nice that there wasn't any romantic interludes or anything, but which I don't know. Like I said, it follows the rules of a show and like the structure of a show, but I wish like it had bent to like kind of them interacting as people and like have them like connect at a certain deeper level than just unknowingly like defining their lives.
Yeah, there's a lot of it where it's like they're basically just all clustered around Catarina. It's like, we all love Catarina, yes, but you're like you're in like daily interactions with each other. You think you'd be doing like stuff together, and Catarina's obviously the glue that holds you together, but you should be, and there's just everyone is like, oh, Catarina's amazing, and it's like, you are in close proximity to each other, please interact.
For years you have talked to each other, please
show this.
They've gotten used to their habits, but it's just like which is why I'm sure Sophia feels like the only one where they like have discussions, because they're the ones who read all the books and they talk about series and stuff, but it just feels like, what else do these people talk about besides gardening for one character? Or do they just hang around each other and just have like just vibe? I don't know. It's just like feels like after about over a half decade of vibing, you would
hopefully start doing
have more
else.
to talk.
Yeah.
And if it like the show would feel really rewarding if like they as people like Sirius Steak and Catarina like broke through whatever this was as people themselves, and not just kind of as part of the plot. But that's
the niceness field.
the kind of Care Bears too, I want to say, because there is a very dark heart aura about Sirius Steak.
Yeah.
Like, suddenly, I'm the villain, I control all of these people, and I'm going to fill the world with darkness. Oh, I've been shown love. It's all fading away. No.
Yeah.
But that's because he's being controlled by another person.
Yeah.
And he has the memories of another person implanted in him, because it's a very long story. Like, this nobility woman, son died, and so he got a kid that looked like him.
Yep.
She got dark magic to sacrifice the kid's mother.
Yep.
And so his memories were implanted in him, but the thing is, he was still the same person even after they implanted the memories. Yeah. So
they just jammed the memories, and then there's this other guy.
There's this guy who was the dark magician who did all of this, and then the nobility thanked him by killing him. So he just became a wrathful spirit that took over, like altered his memories a little bit, and then put him on this path to vengeance and darkness. Yeah. So there's all of that, but like it's rushed and it's very simplistic, and like he has all he really has is this memory of his mother that was clearly edited to say "avenge me" instead of what she actually said. And on a weird note, which we'll go into, his mother looks very much like Toa Herschel from the Trails of Cold Steel series, who is the student council president of that, at least the first couple games. Yeah. And Sirius Steak is the student council president. So I don't know, but also Falcom is a company that does a lot of 7 out of 10s as far as that, and they take a lot of characters and character designs from well-known tropes and then just kind of reuse them and add extra qualities to them as they see fit. So it might not just be that they took it from Falcom. They just took it from the well that you go to for a lot of these characters.
Yeah, and certainly the character. I mean, the character designs in this are fine. I mean, I can tell
they're fine.
Everybody apart, and there are some like really good character design. There are some slightly above tier character designs. There are some slightly below character design. Nothing is terrible in this. I think Sirius's design is actually pretty neat. It's like he just looks really generic, and it's like, I'm the villain. I see.
But it's very odd that Mary is the first person outside of her family and her fiance that she really reaches out to, but Mary's the one who kind of disappears the most.
Yeah, it's a little bit like...
Because of her character design and what they give her to do, because she's not the one who reads the books and is the reincarnation of her best friend, and...
She does sort of, disappear into the background,
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and that is the sort of thing, basically, yes, all of the supporting characters are fine, but, at the same time, a lot of them just do feel a little bit like they fade into, after, like, their particular episode, they just sort of fade slightly into the background of, Catarina's sort of small army of potential lovers, and it's like, that's fine, it's fine, but then they don't get to do anything apart from going, oh no, Catarina, you're in danger, or oh yes, Catarina, let us go to this place, and it's like, please give these characters something to do.
Yeah. It's apparent because we haven't talked about, probably two of these characters. We probably named them, but we haven't talked about them, like her adopted brother, or the guy who plays piano.
there's like, I think we've mentioned, there's Nicole, who is like Sophia's brother, who is fine.
He is an introvert, and his only character trait is he is very handsome, and he makes every woman swoon when he gives a certain look to them. And he's kind of like a character, this Count character in this book they read, but he is just, an introverted guy.
Yeah. And Alan, who is fine. He can play, basically they got like one trope each, and Alan can play the piano and is quite competitive. I mean, this is the thing, like, I've played otome games. They can be this. The character has 3 tropes, and that's fine, and that's fine when you're playing like a 40-hour game. It's like, fine, I have to remember who half these people are every so often. It's solid. It's there is none of these characters where I go, oh god, it's you again. But some of them do fade, and I think particularly Keith and Alan do sort of really fade into the background a little bit, which is bad because Keith is Catarina's brother, and it's like, you've adopted brother, so it's fine. Yeah, it's a sort of, the thing is, we're badinaging it, and we're sort of we're poking little holes in it, and it's like it's not a bad. It's 8, as I said. I would. You said 7 out of 10. I would probably go somewhere around 7.5, 8, Joe. I think if we.
Okay. Yeah. This seems more up your alley because you like things that are very much nice throughout.
I like pretty things.
Then that's fine. It's I just have I do have my nice series that I like for comfort. Like Aria is my big one. But they have their traits, and they kind of do them over and over, but they're people, and they grow as people, and you see them grow throughout the 3 seasons and the OVAs and whatever else. And you kind of feel like their uncle or their relative when you go see them graduate or something like that. And once they hit these milestones, and once they've overcome themselves and gotten to this point, it's just like, I am so proud of you. You did this.
Yeah.
You did, and that is I kind of need like that human level where they grow and they go beyond like their character traits they are given initially. And Arya does that, although it took me 5 years to watch it because it is such a relaxed series that, like, it is anti-binge watching, but it is very pretty, and I love it very much.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, I feel that, you know, given more time and, you know, perhaps given a little bit more of a direction, I feel Villainess would easily, and as I said, I will have to do season 2 at some point, because I feel it'd be like an interesting series to talk about, because it really does seem whether it at least punches up visually. I mean, the visuals is fine. There is nothing I can, you know, say about this series that is going to be like, this is not, you know, unless you are really against, you know, isekai and otome series, you're not gonna really have anything to sort of dissuade you from seeing this. It's fine. It's charmingly made. The central heroine is dense but you know, relatable. It's fine. It's, you know, it's a little bit more of one of these series where I feel it does sort of go, you like you play some otome games and you like some isekai. Here we put them together into this interesting series that you know, is a little bit off the beaten track of, like, you know, the typical things, but also, you know, it's fine. It's fine.
And the ending works in a way like Undertale's pacifist ending, and then we have, like, there's a little bit of Angel Links under there, which is like where once it plays its hand, I mean, it has its, like, emotional note that it can hit, and once it gets together that this is her friend's way of trying to get them back together, and, you know, having a happy life for her friend who died far too soon. And, you know, it really works in that way, like, even though and not like Angel Links, where when you start to think about it, it's like, wait, how did she get there first?
Yeah.
If he's the one who died, or it doesn't, like, it's not so over conflated and complicated that that it detracts from the simple act of, this is kind of it's kind of a note they've been waiting to play, and they know it's going to work regardless, but it is done well.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, it does, you know, well. You know, there's not really a workman-like quality to this. This is something made with genuine affection for it. I feel in places that genuine affection does sort of take the place of, you know, something a little bit more with a little bit more bite, but that's not really not really what this series is aiming at, I don't think. Yeah,
I think I've run out of.
Yeah, I've run out of stuff to
yeah,
speak about.
we should probably. I mean, we've gone an hour. We're good.
We're good. Yeah, we're back. We're back into the back into the swing of things. Sorry.
Yeah, not doing 2.5 hours on the 50th anniversary of one of the most important things of history.
Yeah, that was. We're back, and we're back. Yeah. So I guess, Joe, it's over to you. What are we talking? Well, obviously we got our anniversary episodes coming up shortly, but what are we talking about on the numbered episodes first?
Okay, we are going to talk about Kino's Journey, one of my favorite episodes of all time, and one we may get to 2.5 hours on. Because it is that kind of series.
It is that kind of series.
It is one of my favorites. It is one of the few things in my life that has changed my worldview. And you can say that about so many things in general. People, like creative works, anything. Like, this is like one of the genuine things that has changed the way I look at the world. So, look forward to that.
Fantastic. So, and following that will be, as I said, if you bloody hell, we're gonna probably have to remind people of the format. And after that we'll be doing a music episode on My Chemical Romance's 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, which hopefully should be here sooner rather than later. Our first anniversary episode of the year is coming out fairly shortly after this. This will probably be potentially before we do Kino's journey. I mean, it's only is it a 13 episode series, isn't it, Kino? I think. Am I correct?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
we're good.
And
I want to be clear. It is the Ryotaro Nakamura series from the early 2000s, not the recent one. Yeah. Very clear on this.
Very fair. Yeah. So, we will be also, so before that, I mean, I don't know how quickly we're doing episodes these days. We will be talking about, well, quite a special film, aren't we, Joe? We are talking about, on its 40th anniversary on March the 11th, 2024. Hayao Miyazaki's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you can keep this stuff in your head, because I got okay, what anniversary album, what series, what I am.
We'll put up the anniversary album list if we can hopefully not change it again at some point soon. That will be on our social media. But yes, we will be talking about well, it's technically the first Studio Ghibli film, but Studio Ghibli didn't exist for about another 18 months or so before. Yeah, so that should be a very interesting episode. And then obviously we will proceed with the rest of our now, with hopefully returning to our normal format, and obviously, anniversary episodes in between. God, I hope we get some more numbered episodes out.
Okay. And by the way, Tom? Yep. You were talking about the social media. Where can you find us, and where's our Patreon?
Oh God, our Patreon can be found at have a minute. 1 second. This is
Patreon.com, the Thom and Joe Show. Thom is spelled with an H.
Yes, and you can find us on Twitter at NotSoFinalProd, all one word. Indeed, that is where we can be found. We may make a Blue Sky at some point. We don't know what everyone's favourite mad South African is going to be up to.
I don't know. I am not getting on Blue Sky. It's like Paradise Killer and the Perfect 25 world that they're moving off of it, and it's not going to be perfect. It's going to have the exact same problems as last time. It's just you don't see them as much, so it's all of that.
As I said, as and when we're going to stick on Twitter as long as humanly possible, while it is still inhabitable.
Okay.
But anyway, we're back. This has been another Thom and Joe episode. We will see you on the next episode, which hopefully shouldn't be 9 months hence. We'll see you later.
Later.
Bye.